The grill was hot, the music was loud, and the air was thick with smoke and jokes. It was our annual family barbecue, the sacred tradition, as Mom called it. Kids ran wild. Uncles argued about football, and the buffet table overflowed with store-bought burgers and soggy coleslaw. As usual, I had made the potato salad from scratch, prepped the lemonade, arranged the cutlery, and texted reminders to everyone who conveniently forgot the time. Nobody thanked me. They never did. I was the invisible daughter, the one who showed up early, stayed late, and was somehow always in the way. I hovered near the drinks cooler, sipping from a plastic cup, half listening to my siblings laugh about something I wasn't included in. Then came the moment. Dinner was served. Plates were loaded. Everyone sat in the backyard folding chairs, red and white tablecloths flapping in the breeze. My mom, wearing her signature apron and fake pearls, stood up with her wine glass in hand. "I just want to say how grateful I am for all of you," she smiled, eyes darting from person to person, skipping me like I was just part of the fence. Then she locked eyes with me. Cold. Calculated. Honestly, if Jade disappeared tomorrow, I don't think anyone would even notice. And then they laughed. All of them. My brothers. My aunts. Even my dad gave a half-hearted chuckle as he chewed his ribs. The sound wrapped around me like barbed wire. I didn't cry. I didn't blink. I just quietly raised my hot dog like a toast and smiled. Challenge accepted. Then I took a bite, chewed slowly, stood up from my seat, and started clearing dishes. Like always. But something inside me had cracked. No, clicked. That night, I washed every plate, wiped every table, and loaded their trash bags into the bins. Then I went upstairs to the old room they still called Jade's Corner, even though it was barely larger than a closet. I sat down on my laptop, logged out of every family group chat, deleted my location-sharing app. Then I opened a tab titled Apartments Outside City Limits. I wasn't angry. I wasn't plotting revenge. I just had nothing left to prove. For 29 years, I had begged them with my actions to see me, to hear me. And they laughed. So now, I'd give them exactly what they claimed they wanted. Silence. By midnight, my bags were packed. Essentials only. Laptop. Passport. Savings folder. The necklace my grandma left me, the only person who ever made me feel seen. I left my key on the dresser. Left no note. No explanation. No drama. Just absence. My name is Jade Harper. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because the night my mother said no one would notice if I disappeared, I decided to show her exactly what happens when the one holding the pieces walks away. The first morning I woke up in the little rental cabin on the edge of a sleepy lakeside town, I didn't feel free. I felt numb. I sat on the edge of the unfamiliar bed, wrapped in a blanket that didn't smell like home, and stared at the stillness around me. It was quiet. Too quiet. No sibling banging on the door, needing a ride. No mom shouting for more paper towels. No reminders on my phone to pick up prescriptions for my father. No noise. And yet, somehow that silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. I didn't vanish on a whim. I'd been preparing to disappear long before I ever heard my mother say those words. Because deep down, I always knew they didn't see me. Not really. Growing up, I was the reliable one. I brought home straight A's, got my first job at 16, paid part of the household bills while my siblings got allowances for doing nothing. When my brother totaled his car, I gave him mine. When my sister needed money for tuition, they came to me, even though I was working double shifts to afford my own night classes. Every birthday, I spent baking cakes, decorating, organizing. Every holiday, I stayed behind cleaning dishes while the rest of the family posed for photos I wasn't in. My reward? Mockery. Dismissal. And a mother who looked me in the eyes and said I could vanish, and no one would even notice. So, I tested that theory. And I walked away. At first, it felt like punishment. I watched the trees outside my window sway in the wind while I tried to figure out who I was without someone meeting me. I didn't tell anyone where I went. I disabled my Instagram, shut down Facebook, blocked every family number. I started fresh under a new account, Jade R. freelance admin, available remotely. I applied for jobs quietly. Took early morning walks with headphones in, and no one to ask me where I was going. No one to call me in the middle of a work shift with another small favor. No guilt. No obligation. Just me. It wasn't easy. There were nights I cried. Nights I hovered over the send button, tempted to message my sister, my father, even my mom, just to say, I'm okay. But I didn't. Because deep down, I wasn't doing this to be missed. I was doing it to find out if I mattered when I wasn't useful. It was the first time in my life I wasn't performing for their approval. And that freedom? It didn't come in fireworks. It came in small, defiant breaths. I made my coffee the way I liked it. Watched movies without someone judging my choices. Started writing again. Took pictures of sunsets and posted them on an anonymous blog. I was lonely. But I wasn't alone. Because for the first time ever, I had me. There's something sacred about erasing yourself on purpose. Not to run. Not to hide. But to start over, on your own terms. I called it the quiet delete. And I didn't flinch. First, I closed every account tied to my full name. Bank? Switched. Email? New. Social media? Gone. The family Netflix account, the one I paid for that they all used? Deactivated. The shared grocery app? Uninstalled. The auto-pay subscriptions for things I wasn't even using anymore? Cancelled. No angry texts. No explanations. Just silence. I sold my car. Bought a used one with no tracking, no Bluetooth sync, no connection to my old insurance plan. I called my workplace and gave 2 weeks' notice, told them I was relocating for personal reasons. My boss didn't ask questions. He just said, "You've always been the quiet one." Quiet. Funny how the same word that defined my existence was now the only thing keeping me sane. I rented a 1-bedroom cabin 3 hours outside the city. No one knew the address. Not my siblings. Not my coworkers. Not even my friends from college. I kept one phone but changed the number. The old one? I dropped in the bottom of the lake beside the cabin, battery removed. That number had been ringing for everyone else for years. I didn't want it anymore. Jade Harper, the family errand girl? She no longer existed. Now I was Jay Harlow, a freelance assistant, virtual, no photos online, payment through PayPal only. It felt like a performance at first, but then it became a practice. And eventually, a personality. I built a new rhythm. Morning walks by the lake. Coffee while reading client briefs. Midday journaling. Late-night emails with motivational affirmations I used to send them, now redirected to myself. I remembered how to be still, how to be small, without being invisible, how to take up space, even in silence. Sometimes I'd sit on the porch and ask myself, if they ever looked for me, would they even know where to begin? And the answer always came back the same. No. Because they never truly knew me. They knew what I did for them, not who I was without them. They knew the dishes got done. They didn't know what book I loved. They knew the groceries got bought. They didn't know my favorite flower. They knew I always showed up, but never noticed how tired I was when I did. So I disappeared, not to make a point, but to protect my peace. They'd called me quiet like it was a flaw. Now, that silence was my sanctuary. And for the first time, I wasn't missing. I was becoming. It took a week for them to notice I was gone. Not just not home. Gone. No posts. No texts. No last-minute favors. No backup. At first, I imagined the family group chat. Probably something like, "Has anyone heard from Jade? She's probably sulking. She'll show up when she needs something." The irony? I never needed them. They needed me. And without me, their well-oiled little machine started to rust. Week 2. My brother, Mark, missed his court hearing because I wasn't there to remind him. Week 3. My mom forgot her medication refill. I used to handle all her prescription pickups. Week 4. My sister completely botched her work event. She always relied on me for planning, menus, checklists, rentals. She'd send me Pinterest boards, and I'd turn them into reality. This time, She cried on Instagram because the tablecloths didn't match the centerpieces. By the second month, the calls started. Blocked numbers. Unknown numbers. Emails to my old account. Jade, this isn't funny. Where are you? Mom's getting worried. Dad keeps asking if you're mad. I watched it all through the burner email I left active, the one I only used for bills and airline points. Their panic grew in stages. Annoyance. Inconvenience. Realization. They hadn't just lost a person. They lost their infrastructure. The birthday reminders. The family calendar. The emergency contact who always showed up, even when she was sick, tired, or heartbroken. I was the unpaid secretary. The emotional sponge. The fixer of their messes. And now, they had to sit in the mess. By month 3, my cousin posted a family photo at another barbecue. Everyone was there. Except me. I stared at the screen and noticed something no one else probably did. The plates were paper. The food looked microwaved. The tablecloths were wrinkled. The smiles were strained. Even my mother's usual over-the-top centerpiece was missing. One of my old coworkers messaged me privately. I hope you're safe. I heard what your mom said at the barbecue before you left. People are talking. That caught me off guard, because I hadn't told a soul what she said. But apparently someone at the party had heard it too. Word spread. What was once a casual, cruel joke now echoed in gossip circles as what it truly was, emotional abuse. By month 5, the tone shifted. Their messages weren't defensive anymore. They were desperate. Please, Jade. We miss you. You matter. I'm sorry we didn't show it. Can we talk? Just once. Even my mom tried. Jade. I didn't mean what I said. But I remembered the way her eyes had narrowed. The way she meant every syllable. The laughter. The smug sip of wine. And suddenly, her apology didn't feel like healing. It felt like damage control. So I didn't reply. I let the silence keep speaking. Because sometimes, absence is louder than any scream. And I was finally learning. They didn't deserve the version of me they destroyed. By the 6th month, their silence was gone. Now they were searching. Not because they missed me. Because they couldn't function without me. My mother started posting cryptic status updates. If you see my daughter, tell her we love her. Please come home, Jade. We're sorry. But there were no details. No explanation. Just carefully packaged grief. Curated for sympathy. My cousin shared the post with a comment. Families fall apart when the strong ones go silent. It got over 300 likes. I watched it all from my cabin, sipping tea, laptop open, calendar full of client calls. I had work to do. A business to run. While they begged for the girl who once answered every call, I was becoming a woman who didn't need their permission to exist. Then came the video. My sister, the same one who used to roll her eyes every time I opened my mouth, posted a tearful apology on TikTok. She sat in her living room, mascara smudged, holding her baby in one arm. Jade, if you're watching this, I just want you to know we didn't realize what we did. You were always there. Always. And we laughed like it didn't cost you something. Mom regrets what she said. She talks about it every day. We miss you. The comments rolled in. She sounds broken. Jade, please go home. No one deserves that kind of pain. But the one that hit me the hardest? Sometimes, leaving is the loudest love letter to yourself. Still, I didn't respond. Because apologies mean nothing when they're just reactions to discomfort. They weren't apologizing because they saw me. They were apologizing because they finally saw what life looked like without me. That's not love. That's consequence. At the 8-month mark, I changed locations. I moved to a small town on the other side of the state. Different address. New name on the mailbox. Same piece. I hired an assistant for my virtual business. Started writing articles for women's empowerment sites. Under a pen name, of course. I was thriving. No one calling me overdramatic. No one rolling their eyes when I offered ideas. No one asking for my help and forgetting I existed the next second. Just quiet wins. One day, I got a letter forwarded from my old P.O. box. Handwritten. The envelope shaky. It was from my dad. He hadn't said much during that barbecue. He'd just chewed his ribs while my mother gutted me with a single sentence. But in the letter, I should have said something. I should have defended you. I saw the look in your eyes that night, Jade. And I ignored it. That's on me. I won't beg you to come home. But I want you to know I see you now. And I'm sorry. I folded the letter and placed it in my desk drawer. Didn't cry. Didn't rush to respond. Because even sincerity comes too late when it's built on years of silence. But I'll admit, it was the first time I thought, maybe one day, maybe, I'll let them see who I've become. I didn't come back. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I found something better than forgiveness. Peace. My new home was small, sunlit, and quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel like loneliness. It felt like permission. Every day, I woke up to birdsong instead of barking demands. Every meal I made was for me, not for a crowd that forgot to say thank you. And every task I completed added to my life, not theirs. I turned my freelance side gig into a business, a virtual operations agency helping overworked women escape burnout. Women like me. Women who were always the strong ones. I named it Harper and Company. A quiet nod to the girl who vanished, so she could finally be seen. Clients loved me. They respected deadlines. Paid on time. Thanked me without being asked. Some even cried on Zoom calls when I built systems that gave them back their lives. One woman said, "You saved my sanity." No one had ever said that to me before, not even when I spent years saving everyone else. And the money? Better than I ever imagined. Within 6 months, I'd triple my income. I bought my little home outright, no mortgage. Painted the walls soft lavender. Put a garden in the back. Hung fairy lights across the porch. Every piece of it was mine. Not a hand-me-down. Not an afterthought. Not a guilt-soaked reward. Just mine. I started writing again, too, under my pen name. Essays. Letters. Short guides on emotional boundaries. One piece titled, "When Your Love Language is Being Left Alone," went viral. I got emails from people across the world. "You wrote what I've never had the words for." I cried. "Thank you. I left my parents a week ago. Your words gave me the courage." I never signed my real name, because they didn't need to know me. They just needed to know they weren't alone. And neither was I. Every so often, I'd sit on the porch with a cup of coffee, scrolling through my old family's social media with a burner account. I watched them try to piece things together. Samantha's events were chaotic now, no more curated flyers or structured timelines. Mom posted blurry photos from birthdays with uneven candles and mismatched plates. Dad looked smaller, older. They weren't falling apart. They were facing life without the one who glued it all together. They thought I was just background noise. But turns out, I was the architecture. 1 year after I disappeared, a letter arrived. Cream envelope. Handwritten again. But this time it wasn't just my dad's. It was from all of them. Signed by every sibling. Even my mother. "You were never invisible, Jade. We just chose not to see you. And we're sorry. We miss you. Please come home. Even if it's just for one dinner." I stared at it for a long time. Then I folded it, slipped it into a box labeled "Before." Because I had no plans to go back, but I wasn't bitter anymore. I was better. The envelope was burgundy, thicker than the others. Inside was a formal invitation, printed in cursive gold. "You're invited to Dad's 60th birthday celebration. The family hopes you'll join us. No pressure, just love." It came with a handwritten note from my sister. "Jade, I know we don't deserve it, but we'd like the chance to try. Please just come." I stared at it for days. It sat on my nightstand, unmoved, like a question I wasn't ready to answer. I didn't owe them anything. Not a return. Not a smile. Not my presence. But still a voice deep inside whispered, "You're not going back for them. You're going back for you. To see it. To face it. To stand in the same space where I had once been erased. Not as the broken girl holding a paper plate, but as the woman who walked away and built a life no one handed her." So I went.
not to belong.
but to witness. I wore soft cream linen, a dress I bought for myself with the first client bonus check I ever earned. Minimal makeup, simple earrings, a quiet confidence that couldn't be borrowed or bought. When I walked through the door, everything slowed. Laughter dimmed. Drinks paused mid-pour. A fork clinked against a plate. There were about 30 people, and every single one of them turned to look at me like I was someone they'd only ever seen in stories. Because I was. I was myth and consequence and memory walking in on 2 feet. My mother blinked first. She opened her mouth but said nothing. My dad stood and smiled softly, eyes damp. My sister stepped forward. She didn't try to hug me. She just said, "Thank you for coming." I nodded. Not in forgiveness. Not in permission. Just acknowledgement. I sat at the edge of the party, watching. I didn't offer to help. Didn't pick up trash. Didn't refill drinks. They noticed. Because this time, I didn't disappear into the background. I didn't earn my place. I occupied it. Aunt Rachel came over. "You look different," she said. I replied, sipping my drink. Cousin James tried to crack a joke. It fell flat. Everything they used to mock in me, my silence, my slowness, my stillness, now made them nervous. Because I wasn't small anymore. I wasn't desperate. I wasn't theirs. After dinner, my mom stood up, glass in hand. A toast. But this time, her voice wavered. She looked at me, then back at the room. "I want to say something," she said, eyes glossy. To Jade. People shifted in their chairs. I was wrong. I was cruel. And I didn't realize how much of our family's strength lived inside the daughter I treated like an afterthought. Silence. Then, "I didn't just lose you when you walked away. I lost myself. Because you were the one keeping us from falling apart." She swallowed hard. "I'm sorry. I can't erase it. But I see you now." I stood.
Calm.
I didn't cry. Didn't gloat. Didn't perform. Just looked around the room, at the faces that had once laughed, and said, "You said no one would notice if I disappeared. But when I did, this entire family cracked. I was never the problem. I was the pattern breaker." Then I set my glass down, and I left. This time, I didn't vanish. I just chose not to stay. I didn't wait for dessert. I didn't stay for hugs or tears or more apologies. I walked out the door just as the string lights began to flicker on. This time, no one laughed. No one said a word. And I didn't look back. Back at my car, I sat for a moment in the quiet. Engine off. Fingers resting on the wheel. Then I opened the note my dad had slipped into my purse on my way out. "We failed you. And I don't know if we'll ever deserve a second chance. But thank you for being strong enough to walk away, so we could finally wake up." I folded it slowly and tucked it into my glove box next to my registration. Because now, I was registered to myself. The next morning, I returned home, to the lavender walls, the humming garden, the fresh notebook beside my coffee. I didn't cry. I didn't replay their faces. I just opened my laptop, typed in the title of my next blog post. "When the ones who ignored you start asking where you went." And I wrote, "There's a kind of grief that doesn't come with funerals. It comes when you realize the people you loved only loved your usefulness. And once you stop being useful, you disappear." But I didn't vanish to be cruel. I disappeared so I could reappear for myself. Whole. Unedited. Unapologetically mine. Later that day, I received an email from a reader. "Your story gave me courage. I finally said no to my family after years of being the one who held everyone up. I didn't know how much I needed your words until they saved me." I closed my eyes and smiled. Because now the girl they said wouldn't be missed, she was changing lives. Months passed. I didn't hear from my family again, not in the loud, performative way they once operated. But sometimes I saw glimpses. A like from my mother on an anonymous article I wrote. A repost of my quote by my sister on her stories. No credit, but I knew it was mine. And once, I passed my brother in a grocery store. He paused, opened his mouth. But I just smiled. Not cold, Not cruel, just free. They told me no one would notice if I disappeared. But when I did, their world got quiet. Their lives got harder. And for the first time, they realized who I was. Not the background, not the help, not the weak one. I was the structure. I was the storm and the calm after. I was the girl who walked away and came back as a woman they'd never get to hold again. Because I didn't leave to be missed. I left to find out who I was when no one was watching. And what I found was enough.